Okay. Okay, it looks like just testing, just so everybody can hear me. Yep, we are live and we are good to go on this stream. Okay, so if you just joined us, everybody, welcome to round 8 of the IIRL Assist Tier 2 Racing League. We are in Hungary, of all places, the scene where Esteban Ocon won his first Grand Prix earlier on this year after a chaotic wet dry race that saw Lewis Hamilton as the only starter on the front row of the grid when everyone decided to pull in for slicks. IIRL Hyper is always in the chat. How are you? Great to have you on board following the stream with us. And good luck on the racing today. I can see you're there in the Williams. So best of luck to you starting. I think it's not too far now before we finally get the ball rolling. Just have me there as spectator. Looks like we have 17 in as of yet. I don't know if we're waiting for anybody else. Did I say there was assist tier 2? Yeah, sorry, this is assist tier 1. Apologies, I forgot which one I was streaming on, so apologies. This is assist tier 1. I'm still peeved about not being able to race last time assist tier 2 because unfortunately my internet connection went so badly. Just hang in there, and hopefully this one should be much better in terms of connection. And yeah, it was. Clearly, I don't know my tiers, IIRL J, so I need to get back involved with the league because, yeah, I've got nothing better to do with my life. So here we go then. The session is just about to start, and it is the first qualifying round of the Hungarian Grand Prix. If you're coming off the back of what was a tremendous British Grand Prix last time out, we tried the sprint format, which certainly made for an entertaining commentary on my part, and I hope for you guys watching or taking part in the race as well that it was a fun experience for you too. It was a 1-2 eventually for the two Alpines. What happened was they actually didn't have the best of races in the sprint race. They actually started P13 and finished P13 and P14, and it's always in the and then they were up in P13 and P14 for the sprint, and then when it came down to the feature race, they ended up clawing their way back. I mean, Run Amok and FRA John B were involved in a brilliant battle coming up to the end of that particular session. Unfortunately, it didn't quite end as well as it would like for Run Amok, but it was a thrilling race to watch with tension all the way to the end, very much like the American Grand Prix at the end. So thank you for saying that, IIRL J. It's lovely having you on board the streams as well. Competitive Racing, Go Bullet, Lando, how are you, my friend? Great to have you on board. Right, so let's priorities. Let's get the detail and everything up. I think normally I don't put telemetry on, but let's put telemetry on this time. So and we'll eagerly await the first driver to come out of the pits. And I think somebody just in front of our screen is just left there, and it was IIRL J in the Alfa Romeo. Straight went on soft tyres. This is a short lap, this one, but it's a very twisty one. You really need the front end to work with you here, especially during these long sweeping handers. And there's quite a few of these in the Hungarian Grand Prix. And the rear, you just need plenty of downforce, really, just to make sure you get the grip that you need going into this. It's a very high downforce, very twisty circuit, so very much like Monaco, just without the barriers and without the Stand of Ott, where Jeff always tells you to not get any heroics. But it still makes for much better racing in terms of who... in terms of Hungarian Grand Prix in the past, I remember the last few that we've had, there have certainly been ones to watch. We obviously had the 2021 when Esteban Ocon won his first Grand Prix And then we had 2019, which was yet another first entry into the Verstappen-Hamilton fight that, as we just seen repeated time and time again, going into this year. So we're going to go on onboard camera now with IIRL. He takes a very, very straight line to get as much traction as he can with the Mercedes coming out, but he's got to make sure he gets out of the way, and he drops down to second gear, goes up to third and then to fourth. Very tentative when he exits the corner though, making sure that the throttle works with him rather than against him, because you get too greedy with the throttle, that could very much send you into what I was almost did there. Is you just saw the back end of his car really stepping out there. So what is IIRL going to do for a first sector? It's 27.0, so not a bad one to kick it off. Just goes round and round the long right-hander coming up into the second sector. This is such a tricky chicane, especially if you overdo it and get on the big sausage curbs around the outside, around the insides of the curbs. But it looks like he's gotten away with it, just done that. Just keeps it in fourth onto the first of the left right-handers, and then onto the next one where he actually goes down to fifth. So just to make sure he gets the traction, that he gets the cornering turn in that he needs, drops down to second at the end of the second sector for the long left-hander now coming into the final part of the lap. And following on board here, we went on board where he started, just goes round down to third, so engine braking won't help him in speed, but it should be able to get the car turned in. He goes over the line and it's a 116.5, so that's not a bad one to start it off. Let's see who else is on a timed lap and see what other times they are going to do. I think there's an AlphaTauri that was out there. So let's go on board with Mr. Wiggles now. Let's go down to 6th, 7th, and he goes provisional top at the moment with a 116.3. Behind him there, I think there was a Red Bull. Ripley now goes on top with a 16 flat in the Ferrari. It's been a while since we've seen a Ferrari top the timesheets in anything for that matter. So Hugh's just coming round to complete the lap, and it was Lil Semp with a 17.1, with still that iconic Red Bull Honda livery that they've got going on there. I think that's going to be with us for some time. As Run Amok, I think he must have backed out of that lap to do a 1:27.9. So this one, I think he's going to go for it again. I tell you what, we'll go on board with him for a little while, just so we can see how he bounces back, because he put in a brilliant drive defending on very clapped out tyres from FRA John B. I think he ran an alternate strategy, whereas John B actually went onto much harder tyres. So Platty now goes fastest there with a 1:15.7. So just long now before the times come in. I actually found out that FRA John B, I don't think is actually here. Neither is Lucifer. So the Haas gets out of the way in sector 2. So this race could very much be Run Amok for the taking, but he's gone wide, and I'm sure that will invalidate his time. But no, it looks like to have kept it on. Running the number 27 that belonged to the famous Nico Hulkenberg, which I'm sure Run Amok has got more podiums than he ever did. So I don't think the number 27 has done too much of a disservice there. As it comes round the final corner now, it seems to have gone top in terms of the purple sector, but as across the line he does a 1:16.1, only 2 thousandths shy actually of what AMS Fairley did. So very, very close times. I mean, between second and sixth, there's only separated by about 2.5 tenths of a second. It was almost like watching the qualifying session at Sprint at Silverstone for the Esports Championship. I don't know if you guys got to see that, but that was a truly brilliant show to watch. So Semi 2003, thank you so much for following. Great to have you on board with the stream. Predator, how are you, mate? Great to have you on board. So Hugh's coming around now to complete their next lap. There's APS Appy, who I think who's absolutely in an absolute role in assist tier 2. He has now come on, I think he's just come off the back of a win. Of a few wins. I think the last one actually went to my teammate, Hissy. And I think he's put one in for the Alpine team, so we're both Alpine guys. So guys, and Appy has spun. APS Appy has spun in the Haas. And I imagine he'll be in for a new front wing on that. It's not what he would have wanted at all. TD, how are you? I hope you got plenty of food tonight. So Thank you so much for joining. I'm sure the stomach's full. But 1010 goes fastest now with a 1:15.3 running the number 13, which belonged to the famous Pasta Maldonado. You're kind of asking for trouble in many ways with ending day. But AMS Fairley now goes 15.7. So just nearly 2/3/100th shy of what Platty did. So now we have Supermac out in the Ferrari, who is actually reserving for TD at the moment. So I don't think TD is a... Basically, yeah, he's still waiting for the takeaway. The takeaway's not quite there yet. So I imagine that's a big size takeaway. It's probably got one or two maybe on the go. But I'm sure TD will correct me at some point in the chat. Okay, so we'll go on board now with Supermac in the Ferrari. It's a 27.3 for a first sector, so that's not too bad. Those curbs can be so punishing, especially the ones on the outside if you spend too much time. The rear end steps out a little bit, which actually helps the exit somewhat out of that tight chicane. Exits that more or less in 4th gear, so it looks like to be a pretty decent time so far for Supermac. But it's a 54.7 for a second sector at the moment, so that's not... I don't think that's particularly the fastest that we've seen, but I highly suspect there's going to be enough to at least put himself on the timing sheets. Hyper still needs to set a bit more of a representative time, which I have no doubts that he will. But what does Supermac do as he comes across the line? It's a 16.9, so it's definitely faster than IIRL Hyper, but maybe there's a little bit more in the tank in that Ferrari. Majestic, how are you, my friend? Thank you so much for joining as always. Great to have you on board. One of the main masters of this league. Supermac might pee in the car. Well, I think Jenson Button once threatened to do that to Fernando Alonso. I don't know whether that made the car faster, but it might have done. Not entirely sure. So let's ride on board now with KZ Babo in the Mercedes. He comes down to turn 2. The long sweeping left-hander, which I think this is a very, very great angle. I wish they used this a lot more. But doesn't actually have much in terms of deployable energy. So this won't be a representative time. Who else is now coming out to do a lap? So we've got IIRL Hyper getting out of the way in the winners. I thought I saw a Red Bull at the moment. That's right, Sam Ken in the Red Bull is going out to set out another time. He's gone onto a new set of soft tyres. Let's see what he can do. Takes a little bit of curb, just about gets away with it. It's a very tight, very snappy entry there. It's almost quite tense as almost the car. You try so hard to not make it fall off the way you need to make it perform the way you want, but you kind of have to give it You have to give it the kind of reserve as you will. So IIRL Hyper is reserving and in place of the Great British Bake Off, which I have to say, I have to honour your commitment there, because it is a very popular show. To be fair, I don't even know what the hell I'm talking about. I barely even watched the damn thing. As Sam Ken has invalidated his time, Run Amok is going out again in the Williams. Crash the Master, how are you? Great to have you on board the stream once again. Ranamuk is 3/10 now up on his time, so theoretically this should look good so far for a net 4th place. Amos Fairley is still in the pit, so saying he's on the medium tyre, so he's probably thinking about going into the ones maybe for sector 2. AMS Fairley, how are you in the chat? Thank you so much, man. This is a very good lap to be up in P3 at the moment, but Ranamuk now goes P4 with that time, just as I thought he might have done, with a 15.9. So that's certainly enough to get through, but maybe there's a little bit more in the tank for him. As one of the Mercedes cars is coming through to start a lap, I say let's follow APS Greg for a little bit. This this was the first. This was Mr. Wiggles' teammate actually for Assist Tier 2 last year. This was a very, very fast driver who I raced against quite well. I knew how good he was in the previous tier, so it's good to see him on board. I think I say this every time he's on there, but it's always good to see the 82 drivers graduate to 81 eventually. So let's see what Greg does for a first sector. It's a 26.9, so he's 10th up on his best so far. STB, I think he may very well have been Dip Padge. These curbs can be a little bit difficult sometimes, so it wasn't definitely not what he would have wanted. 10-10 is more than definitely retired. There you go. Amos Fairley, I'm really good, thank you. It's a bit of a crazy week, but crazy week for me, looking to move out into a flat with my girlfriend, but nevertheless, it's a lot more fun commentating here for a little bit, so it's just nice to let myself go a little bit, shall we say. So I haven't really followed much of Greg's lap at the moment because I've been trying to reply to everybody in the chat, but Greg now does a 16.1, so that's not too bad of a lap, but it's getting very competitive now from about... So yeah, it's getting very competitive now. I mean, just between P2 and P12 was covered by about a second, so it's looking very, very competitive now. Thank you very much, Fairley. It's very nice of you to say, mate, and I'm looking to move in next week, so things may be a bit touch and go, I suppose, whether I can actually stream. It just depends on how well I can get everything packed, and you know what, so... Who else is out? And here we have Mr. Wiggles. For I think this second lap now in the AlphaTauri, running the number 45, which was about as many laps as what is in the old Hungarian as the old German Grand Prix, just before what happened to the Hockenheimring, before it was supposedly butchered by Hermann Tilke. I do like the old Hockenheim. So we have TRT Lucifer, and now we have FRIB John B, who have just joined the party. Millsy now is in P2. Sector 2, the cars managed to stay out of the way. Got a little bit of understeer there in that AlphaTauri. As it comes round the chicane. You think the AlphaTauri in real life would more or less suit it, but looks like a few drivers retiring now after feeling like they got the laps that they needed. And Wiggles now goes 4 tenths faster than what he's done so far in the middle through Sector 2. This theoretically may put him into about a 7th or 8th place. Just depends how well he can handle the final sector here. As he comes round, the back drops down to 3rd position. That 3rd gear rather, so hopefully get the turn in. What does he do across the line? It's a 15.7, so it's a much well improved time there for Mr. Wiggles. It's a lovely, lovely time there. Supermac improves to a 16.4 in the Ferrari. So, with only 3 minutes to go now, if you're FRA John B or TRT Lucifer, and they're coming out right now, they should have just enough time to get a lap in, and that essentially makes a full grid for us, which is always fun to see. Oh, and John B is running the number 14 that obviously belongs to Fernando Alonso. I think it'll be a while before his actual driver number comes in. But yeah, there's quite a few people joining the chat now. That's 17, so don't say that, AMS Fairley. I think you might have said too much for them already there, but after an impressive 1-2 now for the Alpines, the pressure is on for them just to make sure they get a lap in, just so they can get through to the session, through to the next session. Whatever happens, STB is going out of the session. APS Appy needs to get a lap in himself, because 16.7 will not see him through. Sam Ken and KZ Bobo as well. I think they've kind of committed to the pits now, so I don't think it's It's only a 10th up though on Appy, so it doesn't look like this will be good enough to get through as of yet. He needs to pull out a couple more tenths, considering that John B will surely get through with his lap. So let's follow him on board. I'm sure he would have got plenty of practice in this time. So he comes down to turn 2. The long left-hander drops it down to 3rd. Gets on the throttle just about midway through the corner. Should be able to get just enough speed in there. With a track rubbered in, that would definitely play to his advantage. But what does he do for first time? It's a 26.7 so far for a sector. So that's not too bad so far for FRA John B. As we go down onto the second chicane, this next chicane through sector 2, takes it very tentatively. The key thing, just make sure you get a lap in. You don't have to be fastest now, you just have to get a lap in. Our race, thanks for coming on board the stream. Always a pleasure to have you on board. So drops down to Q, I don't know what I'm talking about. Drops down to 6th gear at the moment. Drops now to 4th gear, to 5th, and then down to the left-hander. John B very surely will be getting through with this time. What does his teammate Lucifer do? And Lucifer's time has been invalidated. You spoke too soon, AMS Fairley, and John B goes fastest with that time with a 15.2, but that is unfortunately curtains for TRT Lucifer, and I think he knows it. 2, 1, and that is time. So TRT Lucifer, after joining the session last, will not get through into Q2. He will start then in last place. As of now, Hyper is not safe and has his time invalidated, so that more or less confirms who is going out of this time. So the ones going out is IIRL Hyper, who, of course, it was nice for him to obviously come, but unfortunately, it probably wouldn't have been the session he would have wanted. But nevertheless, still all to play for in the race. Il Semp F1 is out with the Red Bull. Appy is also out in the Haas. STB is also out in 19th, and TRT Lucifer is out after having his lap time invalidated. Was that John's crashed, is he? FRI John B, he has crashed. If that's true, then that's going to be a very... I wish I got that on camera, guys. I'm sorry for that. But that is very interesting coming into the next session. So there we have it. So though, in terms of the qualifying order, so there we have the top 14 at the moment. Just go back to the top there just for everyone's benefit so they can see who that is. So 10-10 obviously goes in the Alfa Romeo. All the way down to P10 to 15. John B, they say, he's crashed out. So that's going to be a bit troublesome, I think, for him. If he has crashed out, then I think that may be it for him in the qualifying session, unless the game can kind of counteract that. But out in Q1, we have IRL Hyper, Semp F1, Appy, STB, and TRT Lucifer surprisingly out in Q1 in the Alpine. Could be the start of another comeback drive, it seems. Well. What have we here? We have a little bit of rain in the air now, guys. This is getting very interesting. And we'll see from... Did that car just bump up there? Did you guys see that? And as there's 14 people there, it looks like John B is out. He will not qualify any higher than P15 at the moment. So it's another funny story with the Alpines. They've gotten late. One of them, well, they're both practically out in Q1. However, one of them is starting in 15th place. This looks like it's just wet enough just for the intermediates now. The Haas Plati is the first car out. So this is really a chance for run much. Yeah, no, Lando, just when you thought this couldn't get any more interesting, we have a wet qualifying, and for some reason Bullet is out on slicks. What on earth? So, yeah, he won't be getting a lap in anytime soon. Let's stay on board with the Haas, who I can imagine half of the Americans who attended the Grand Prix last week could probably be looking at that car, at that American team, which is probably thinking, why is our car draped in Russian flags? It's an American team. As if all those years of the Cold War meant absolutely nothing. So let's go on board with Platty as he starts this first lap in the Haas on mixed conditions where it's intermediate tyres. As you can see, very high in the gears just to offset the wheel spin. You just see there, just the exit out the first corner was very, very tricky. Stays in third, probably upshift straight away to fifth, just to counteract the steering, just to counteract any traction that he may get or any wheel spin that's going to send his car right off into the barriers, because he does not need to be doing what John B did. It's a very interesting qualifying session, this one, because the track is going to improve little by little, so you've got to put in enough fuel in just to make sure you can do enough laps in the time that you got, but not enough so much so it's going to offset the tyres. And what has happened there, I think we've had this run amok spinning in the Williams. It's not quite what he needed to do, but nevertheless he hasn't quite put it in the barriers. Who is the Raidmaster Padge? We will very soon find out, with Platty immediately shifting up into fourth, then down to third for the long left-hander, which must feel even longer. So you guys are tipping 10-10 for pole. Let's see if we can do a 10 out of 10 lap as Platty comes across the line. And that's the original benchmark now is a 27.6, so that's over 10 seconds slower than what we had in the dries. As we see the two Alphas now coming across the line. Iros J goes second, but 10-10 goes provisional fastest with a 26.4. Sean Gregory next with a 28.1. Who's next? And McLaren of Millsy goes now with a 22nd, and the second McLaren at AMS Fairley looks like he'll be following suit. Just stays on so he doesn't invalidate his time. It's a 28.5, so there's still much more time to improve. Supermac goes 7th. Run Amok goes 9th, so after a spin. Greg now goes into P4 in the Mercedes. So many times coming across it, guys. It's so hard for me to keep up, rather. 8th place now for Casey Babu. The only people left to set a time are Bullet, Wiggles, and Sam Ken in the Red Bull. 2 AlphaTauris and the Red Bull. Certainly a big chance for anyone tonight. If it's raining during the race, then who knows what's going to happen here. Sam Ken goes into P3 with that time in the Red Bull, as we'll stay on board with Bullet. As you know, just go off to Mr. Wiggles because he's the next one to eventually complete a time. Drops down to second gear for that long left-hander, but there's plenty of upshifting I think he's got to do before he gets out of the corner, just to make sure that the wheels don't spin him off into the distance. But that comes across the line. What does he do for a time? It's a 27.9, so still a little bit more time to find there. Oh, and Sam Ken, I think, has crashed in the Red Bull. And Platty now is retired from the session, so I don't know what's happened there, but I think he may very well have crashed out. Yes, Platty has crashed out, and you can see it on there. He has crashed out. I think I've been saying crashed out too much. Sorry, viewers. So who is still out? So Ripley has come back into the pits. The 2 Alfa Romeos, one of them has invalidated session, and it looks like AMS Fairley is also retired from the session after having crashed out. So all you got to do is just go ahead of their time and you should be able to get through into the next session. What's happened to 10-10? He is now 10-10 has actually gone 2 tenths up from his time. So what happened earlier then, Fairley? Fairly. Sorry. As 10-10 comes round, it's like a very tiny exit. What does he do? Does he improve on his time? Yes, he does. He's a 26.2. So much improved there, and I think he certainly needed it. And Mr. Wiggles now actually goes P2 with a 26. Millsy now goes faster than the McLaren. So the times are crumbling down. As Bullet now goes P4 with a 26.8. Well, Fairly, keep your chin up, mate. These things happen to the best of us, and if you think... And looks like Sean Gregory as well has crashed out in the other Aston Martin, so it's not quite good. Not quite a good session at the moment for the Aston Martins, because for no better way of putting it, they had no time to die. I know I'm really bad at jokes, guys. I'm probably about as bad as TD. Full wets, you reckon, Alpha Ross fan? I'm not quite sure at the moment. I think it looks just... I don't think it's wet enough for full wets, but I think it's still around just intermediates weather. As 10-10 boxes. And Iros J has gone 8 tenths faster so far in his time as he comes across the line, and he goes fastest with that. A 26.235. And it's not even a tenth covering the top 3 at the moment, so this is very competitive at the moment. No time sold. 22 viewers at the moment, so thank you guys so much for Thank you so much for joining. I think that's quite a high number, I think, in terms of my streams to have the viewers. So thank you guys very much for joining us. TD, your jokes are so bad they're good. That's all I'm going to say to that. I mean, I should know because my jokes are just as bad or good, depending on how you look at it. Certainly a brilliant lap there from Ross. And is he fueled up to go again? Afternoon from Chile. Afternoon, good evening from the UK. How are you? Great to have you on board. In his 3 tenths now, so I don't imagine he'll be improving on this particular time. So we can cut behind to see Run Amok is now out in the Williams. So he's got to make sure he capitalizes, especially with John B starting in 14th and Lucifer starting at the back of the grid. This is his chance to make amends for what happened in Silverstone, which would have been kicking himself after crashing the car after driving on very worn out tyres to defend his position. But nevertheless, could this be redemption time for the Williams driver as he comes across to start his next flying lap? Doesn't even upshift to 8th. He drops down to 3rd gear. Does he upshift early? He rear end steps out a little bit and steps out there as well. So that may cost him a couple of tenths as he comes down now into the long left-hander of turn 2. Yellow flag within sector 3. There may be the Mercedes getting out of the way, but he kept it very tidy so far, and you can see the wheel there, which I think came off the Haas. He's 200ths up on his fastest right now, but he's got a few more time to make up, but he's had his lap time invalidated, it seems. Who is out? Supermac is on an out lap. KZ has started his lap. And I think it's the other Alfa Romeo of 10-10 is on as his out lap as well. I'm trying to find out who's currently on a timed lap. It's currently Ripley, who's a 10th up on what he's done. Fluffy's bullet. I'm assuming you're bullet 122 in the actual session, but if it's the first time chat, welcome. Great to have you on board. as we'll follow Ripley in the Ferrari. We'll go just on board with him. It's a very tidy line so far. He's 5/10 up now currently on his best. Locks the fronts a little bit, which does compromise his entry into the next section, which is a long left-hander as he comes round into the final right-hand corner now. As long as he keeps this one tidy, this should be a very decent improvement there from the Ferrari. Hopefully this can get him up to above 5th place if this is done the lap right. As he comes across the line, what does he do? He doesn't improve on his position, but he certainly improves on his time, which only makes it just a little bit harder for others to beat. And the Mercedes, I think, of APS Greg has gone up into P8, which means AMS Fairley theoretically gets through into Q3, but not quite through into Q3 because he's crashed. So I suppose there's definitely an achievement in it to get through into a qualifying session despite having crashed in your car. I think Maldonado may have done that before. It's very close, especially during the top 3. We're not even covered by a 10th at the moment. I can't wait to see what's going to happen. And 10:10 though, as I say that, goes fastest with a 1 minute 25.9. So that is a brilliant time. You could see maybe the dry line is starting to form a little bit. The rain doesn't do much to actually dissuade the line from improving, but it's still a very cautious and tentative lap so far from Supermac. Just drops down into 5th position, takes plenty of curb there just to make sure he gets the traction he needs. He's up on 2/10 at the moment on his time in the Ferrari, but he needs to improve much more than that if he's to get above into Q3. AMS Fairley may do this, you know. Fairley may do this. But we've also got the Mercedes of KZ Babu out on an outlap as well. So he's the only one else as well who can look to dislodge Fairley from this position. But Supermac only does a 1 minute 28. In terms of times, who else is on a time? So 10:10 is actually improving on his time even more. Oh, and he's crashed. He's crashed out, and just as that's the only crash we've seen to have gone on camera. So that is a massive shock here. Massive shock. 10:10 has crashed out. Unbelievable. Unbelievable stuff here. The wet track really is catching people out. What does that mean for those who are still on an outlap and run amok? With a 25.9 improves, but he's back into the pits now, so he just comes in. So where is the Mercedes? There he is, about to start his last flying lap, and Supermac doesn't look like he's going to improve on his time, so I think he is out. I think whatever happens, Fairley looks like he is through. So the last time lap we are going to get from the moment is the Mercedes of KZ Babu. So unfortunately, what a shame there for 10:10. But what this does do is create a massive opportunity for Run Amok Luck, who is keen to make up for what happened in Silverstone. And KZ Babu is very loose rear end coming out the back of that corner there. But he's only improved by a few hundred so far in the first sector. Let's go down into the chicane. It looks like it's very sensibly taken. Plenty of curb, but not enough to mount the sausage curbs to dissuade him entirely. Let's see how quickly he gets on the power. Looks like he's got enough traction. It looks like a much tidier second sector. So what's going to be his time here? What does he come across the line and do? Only 2/10 up. Though the best thing he could probably hope for, if he improves by about, if he can find a few more tenths in this last sector, he will be able to improve on his time. He should be able to get through in Q10, but this is essentially the final lap. We're going to go on board with KZ. He comes across the line, and is it enough to get through? No, it's not. Unfortunately, he just lost it there. Oh, Bit of a shame for him. So he is out. And I'm just going to try it again. Tom72. Great to see you. Thank you so much for following us. And great to have you on board following us. And Supermac, it's not going to be an improvement. That's the end of the session there for him. Very interesting stuff here. So we've had the 2 Alpines effectively go out. We've had 1010 go out after crashing. And Run Amok so far in the lead. But I was supposed to commiserate 9th of the thick of it, turn 1. So not bad, fairly. Not bad at all. You fared quite well. So we'll just quickly run through the order. We'll have... So let's Run Amok on top yet again in practice. So then they were 7. Lucky 7, it seems. So we had... Bobo and Supermac unfortunately just couldn't hook the times together, but we had Sean Gregory, Platty, Ken, Fairley and 1010 all crash out in that section. Only 7, but this will be the highest qualifying. So Wiggles, congratulations mate. Maybe a session bar. I know how quick you are having raced against you in 82, so I would say do a fellow 82 vet proud and put in a good session mate. Well done. Predictions certainly out the window, Padge. Out the window indeed. And the track looks to have dried up now, so it looks to be a bit of rain, a little bit of carnage. Two AlphaTauris with the same time. I didn't realise that. I hope they got enough screenshots of it nonetheless. So it's a 7-car shootout for pole position. So Crash the Master reckons it's a Millsy pole. So already Iros J is out first in the Alfa Romeo. It's been another fun round of unpredictability in this 81 series. And then there was 7. Which is a little bit of curb taken there by Ross J. Didn't have to scroll down. I didn't think I could see all the drivers there, so I just had to make sure that you got enough of the screenshots in any case. So, you guys are tipping Millsy for pole position. Let's see if that prediction comes true. We got the Q3 session start, and the first person to come and set a time is the Alfa Romeo, taking a very wide entry into that final corner, just so that straightens him up, coming up to the start-finish straight. Certainly helps you out with traction there. It looks very, very tidily driven from Ross J. This goes now into the long left-hander. Drops down to second though, just to make sure it gets the turn in. It can help you to slow the car without giving you any fear of locking the brakes. So it's a 27.1. It's a track that's drying up right now, so don't expect any times that are going to be any faster than what we got in Q1, because this is now a green surface. So it's all about just getting out there and trying to find the grip, trying to find all the parts of the racetrack which you can drive that aren't too waterlogged or too dissuaded by a lack of grip. So Iros will give us the early benchmark of what we can expect from this session. And again drops down to second for these long twisty right left-handers that you get at the beginning and end of the lap. So, coming across the line, what does IIRL J as a benchmark? It is a 1:16.5. So, saying that that's actually quite close to what we had in the 80 in qualifying 1. Mr. Wiggles goes P2 as of yet with a 16.8, so it's a solid time so far from him. Run Amok though, it goes fastest with a 59. That is what he needed. He needs to be on pole position here because with that session, and if Ripley now actually goes into P2 in the Ferrari, who's the next one to complete a lap? It's APS Greg, who at an 18.3 isn't really representative of I know what he can do. As Millsy comes through on his outlap, I think we'll go on board with the McLaren. So the pressure is certainly on Millsy. Can he spring a surprise and beat runner Muckaluk to pole position? It's quite a nice tidy exit. Taking as much track as he needs to as it goes down to the long left-hander. Drops down to third gear. It's a very downhill corner, so it's a threat of throwing you off wide, but he gets it nailed very well. And it's a 15.3 now for runner Mark, so that is actually much faster than what we got in Q1. So we are on board now still with the McLaren, still running it very, very tidily now through that final sector. With no need to upshift early, he's already got the grip and everything that he needs. Doesn't even bother upshifting to 7, but he goes wide. And I think that's allowed him, he's still allowed to keep his time. Or normally, if you could expect that during time trial, you can expect your lap time invalidated. But there we go, he runs a little bit wide during the exit of the left-hander now into the final corner. This doesn't look like it's going to be a pole position best in time, but as he comes across the line, what does he do? It's a 15.7, so he's in P2 for the moment, still plenty of time to make up. Zyros J comes into the pits. Runner Muck will very soon be coming back into the pits. So it could be a straight fight between these two, but with Bullet now effectively on his outlap. He's actually getting a tow actually from his teammate, so could be a bit of teamwork going there to make sure Bullet gets as much time as he needs. He doesn't lose too much downforce. But there's quite a gap at the front between Runner Muck and Millsy. It looks like Runner Muck we'll be going into pole position here, but not unless the McLaren has anything to say about it. I never seen 7 in qualifying either, Padge. It's always a new experience and always a fun experience commentating on these races. What snacks have I got? I've got Haribo Straubs, which are hands down my favourite. As Bullet now starts his flying lap, we'll run on board the man who ruled number 12, who was actually run, I think, by I think it must have been Marcus Ericsson. It was either him or it was Kabubi Kobayashi when he drove for Caterham. It's 26.8 for Bullet, so that's not a bad it's not a bad first sector. Straubs, you cannot beat them, mate. They are hands down the best. I do love marshmallows, but Haribo Straubs, you just can't get any better than them, mate. As Wiggles is up 3/10 on his time in the AlphaTauri. So it looks quite high up, that car. Track limits broke here, so What does Wiggles do? He's up by 7/10 on his time, so it looks like it could be a net P3 for Wiggles as he comes across the line. What does he do? It's a 15.8, so that's a solid start there. But does he have enough to go at it again? Bullet goes into the pits after what was I think it was fairly lackluster attempt on his part, so I think he'll be going in to try that again. Ripley, however, in the Ferrari is 7/10 up on his best, and he comes across the line. What does he do? He goes provisional fastest. That is a brilliant lap there from Ripley, who takes provisional pole away from Run Amok. But now we're on board with the Williams, so he'll be eager to claw that one back. I didn't quite see that one coming at all, as the rear end steps out on the Williams. And what does he do for a first sector time? If it's anywhere near an improvement, it's only 2 100ths though, so still very much neck and neck between him and the Ferrari. And as you can see, the McLaren now is coming up. Oh, and Run Amok has crashed. Run Amok, pushing just that little too hard in the Williams, has crashed out and will start from P7. Unbelievable stuff during this qualifying session, and then they were 6. Amazing. So there goes Run Amok for pole, and so far Ripley, in a surprise snow, could be on pole position. What is going on here? As the McLaren gets out of the way of the Alpha, who I think has gone fastest. TD claims to have done 14.6. If no one beats his time, he'll stay there. Oh, right. That's right, yeah. But you can hope for as high as second then. So, excuse me for getting that wrong. Apologies for that, guys. It's APS Greg coming into the pits, and Iros J down in 6th position. Unless Bullet finds a lot more time. Well, we'll call it bullet time, if you will. What can Iros J do to improve as it comes round the final corner? It's P3, it's a 15.6. So that's certainly an improvement, as we are now going to go on board with the McLaren of Millsy 502. The eyes are on him now. The chat suspect that he will be the one to take pole position, but it's all to play for at the moment, as Run Amok has crashed out, and Ripley unfortunately doesn't look like he's going to get another time in the Ferrari. Oh, and Mills has crashed out now. Millsy has also crashed out in the McLaren. Just what is going on here? Honestly, I have no idea what on earth is happening here. Okay, so Millsy has crashed out, which guarantees himself 4th place, and that looks to probably seals down pole position. This is absolutely bonkers here, guys. Oh, and the backhand steps out for Wiggles. That's not what he would have wanted, so can he improve now? Yep, his time's been invalidated. So I suppose what we'll do, we'll go on board with Bullet, who's only going to end up as low as 7th place, but I suppose we'll run on board with him to see what he can do. So that means Ripley in the Ferrari has taken pole position. As you see, the Alpha Tauri is attacking those curbs. You can tell them probably a little bit of frustration creeping in there after not quite soaking lap in. And oh, the back end steps out there, so it's not really a tidy one here at all. As it comes down into the last sector, unfortunately overdriving, I think, the car, as the rear end just really tried to step out in there on the back of that corner. So as we go down to the final corner, drops down to 3rd gear. I don't suspect this will be anything higher, but let's see what he does. He comes across the line, and it is 7th place. So after an absolutely mental session where we've had 2 people crash out, 2 of them contenders, Ripley takes pole position in the Ferrari, Run Amok and Millsy crash out. This has been an absolutely mental session, everybody. I don't know what it's been like for you, but I'm running out of breath by the second. So there we go. I don't think there's any need to scroll down here. You guys can see the order. So we have Ripley taking pole position in the Ferrari in the with a 1:15.3. Runnemuck takes second in the Williams. Iros J third in the Alfa Romeo. Millsy fourth in the McLaren. Mr. Wiggles fifth in the Alfa Tauri. Sixth is Greg in the Mercedes. And seventh place, it feels weird to say seventh is the last in the session, is the Bullet in the Alfa Tauri. With 24 people now in the chat, it's good to see the crowd getting higher. Thank you all so much for joining. It's an absolute pleasure having you guys on board. Ripley, congratulations, mate. Brilliant session. I think for those, I think you should remember we need to have the 5-minute break. And then once we have that, we can get started with the next session. So guys, as we're waiting currently for the chat to get back, for the race to get back underway, I think what we should do, just have a little bit of a conversation. Just think, with the Formula One, obviously the next weekend we've got the Mexican Grand Prix, which is going to be, as Lando put it in the chat, crazy. Typically, it's been a Red Bull favourite, so you think it's going to go to Max, but Lewis has been lucky by it. I don't know. To be honest, I don't know how to call this at the moment with this championship. I can't remember a Formula One season where it's been so neck and neck for such a long time. But he's only... You think with Verstappen, he's had arguably the best car, the best package, but he's only 12 points ahead of Lewis. It just goes to show how crazy the season has been. It's like you can have the best package and you'll never quite be guaranteed the things that you want. And with Hamilton's case, this is one that he really needs to win. Because with tracks that are suiting the Red Bull, it's just going to add more and more pressure to the defending champion. I think historically as well, RS Fanatic, I think whenever you've watched it, Red Bull, even when they were with the Honda, they still went very well in the 2019 race. They have a car, I think, that can just generate the grip in the high altitudes, because I think it's very good at taking air and producing downforce when there's not a lot of air actually in Mexico, because it's actually the highest track on the calendar, as it seems, because in terms of the altitude, what you need is bigger wings to actually use a lot more of the air, which is because it's just so thin. There's not actually as much air up higher up than there is near ground level, so to speak. So that's going to make a very interesting race, but it's certainly one I think that Hamilton really needs to win. I mean, Verstappen's got 8 wins to Hamilton's 5. If it gets to about 9 or 10 wins for Verstappen, then it could be curtains for Mercedes Championship. Okay, my top 3 prediction for this, I'm going to go with Runnemuck wins, Iros J goes second, and FRA John B in third. And here we go then. We have 30 seconds now until the start. It feels a little bit early though, so I don't know if someone pulled the trigger a bit too quickly. But it's race time at the moment. It's 10 seconds now before we start the parade lap. That's when you make sure you've got to get the heat in the tyres. And because it was a wet qualifying session, they can start the race on whatever tyre that they want. It'll be interesting to see who will run both the soft and medium. So it looks like a majority of the pack are actually on mediums, with the one stop seeming to be the preferred tyre. No telemetry. Make sure we've got the full track back on. So there we go. We have the first formation lap is currently underway, as the last driver, TRT Lucifer, has now just left the grid. So plenty of work to do for the Alpines yet again after the chaotic sprint race that happened last time out in Silverstone. The Alpine drivers find themselves in arguably an even trickier situation, because now they've got to overtake on what is a very difficult track to overtake on. But if there's anyone that can do it, I think John B has already said, he's made his statement very, very clear. He's gone onto the soft compound tyres, so it may benefit him to do a two-stop, undercut as many people as he can, and just make sure that he can pass people as of when he needs to. And there we have Lucifer now, has just come past the final the chicane. It will be the last sector now, and he will be going very, very slowly at the moment, Ripley. So it looks like a majority of the field is on medium tyres. You get 3 of them on softs, which are Gregory, FRA John B and Lucifer, and we have 2 on the hard tyres, which are Fairley and Supermac. The rest, the other 15 runners, are starting on the medium compound tyre, which feels like the best compromise at the moment. Ripley has gone very much far ahead of the other cars to take his slot on the grid. Oh, and it looks like the Ferrari may have spun at the back of there. There might have been Supermax just spinning. Well, it doesn't look like he'll lose his position. Keep it clean like TD's plate. I love that one, Padge. I like that a lot. As the Ferrari catches up to take his slot on the grid, it just goes through into 13th position. With 35 laps, it is a half race distance between us and the completion of this Grand Prix. And other people watching, I hope you're all in for a very fun race as 3 lights come on, 4 lights. When the lights come out, we will be racing at the Hungaroring. Bad camera there, and the race is underway, and already Ripley has lost out on the start. It looks like to Runabout. Runabout looks to be going into the lead, just exactly what he needs to do. The Williams takes the lead going into the first corner, and Iros J now comes up into P3, Wiggles now in P4. Millsy unfortunately falls down to P5. It looks like there's some carnage all the way at the back, and it looks like there was a crash involving, I think it might have been FRA John B actually. Let's go down to him to see what the issue is there, and a virtual safety car already has been deployed. It was the Alfa Romeo that's lost the front wing, but John B has already lost out. And while his teammate, on the other hand, TRT Lucifer, is now up into 11th position. So it's almost like the Alpine drivers have sort of swapped their fortunes around, as it seems, as Runamuck has gotten exactly what the stop that he needs right now, and Sam Ken has spun in the Red Bull. Dropped all the way back into last position now, and he's spun again. You have to admit those tyres are overcooked, and he's already retired, it seems, which is a bit of a shame. It's not something you always want to see, but just the start that Runamuck needed. He's already got a barrier between himself. In fact, he's got about 8 or 9 cars between him and TRT Lucifer. 10-10 is already P7, and the virtual safety car has now ended. Runamuck already speeds away. He's already pulled nearly a second already on Ripley in the Ferrari. As you can see behind, Iros J is about a 10th behind. Is he going to go and move to the outside going into the first corner? He places his car well, but the Ferrari looks like he's got him covered at the moment, and it's still very, very close between the two. The Alfa Romeo has held the inside line going into the next corner, and IIRL J has now taken second position from the Ferrari. As right behind, TRT Lucifer is already up into 9th position. Sam Ken leaving the session, and wasn't quite what he sort of wanted there, but already the Alpine into the points. What else is happening there? And John B. Oh, and there seems to have been a little bit of trouble with John B. He's already 25 seconds back from STB, it seems. So I'm not quite sure what happened there, but John B. is not having the lucky day that he needs at the moment. It looks like he must have come into the pits. He must have had some damage from an earlier collision. Must have been with the other Aston Martin, but that's not what the Alpine driver needed. So he has got a lot of work to do to recover this position as we go down into lap 3 with DRS now being activated here, and Runnermark has gotten a 9/10, so he needs an extra 10th or more just to make sure that he gets free of that DRS in. You can see how powerful the slipstream is behind everybody here, as everybody looks to follow up on each other. And Millsy unfortunately drops down into 5th position, so that's not quite what he needed there. Platty is in 7th, and 1010 has unfortunately fallen behind him and is down to 8th position. But look at TRT Lucifer there in the Alpine. He is on soft compound tyres, but he has got to pounce now while he can, because this is where he's got a life. And with all of the incidents in front of him propelling him into P9th, he has a golden opportunity to really make some ground in to make up for that qualifying session, which saw him start at the back of the grid. Let's go back up to the front to see what's happening with Run Amok. And yet again, a virtual safety car has been deployed for... I think someone has crashed. Not quite sure what's happened there. There must have been some form of collision. But as a second virtual safety car by lap 3, it seems. So certainly a very chaotic race. I was wondering whether who's on the field actually has any damage. Well, it can't be FRA John B because he's pitted. I wonder whether it was... Yes, it's Hyper. It's Hyper in the Williams who has lost his front wing. So, and that's the full-on safety car has been deployed. That's very, very interesting there, because that is going to bring John B back into contention as a little Sempef 1 in the Red Bull comes in to change. Is he going to change his front wing? Yes, he is, and he goes onto the soft compound tyres. That will see him dropping back, and IIRL Hyper will inevitably be changing his tyres. What John B will be staying. He's on a new set. And that's the Williams. He's just changed his tyres. That promotes John B up into 16th. Sean Gregory hasn't got the start he wanted at all there in the Aston Martin rather. I'll tell you what, can the teams next year please just change some of their names, because the amount of teams beginning with A is just so damn confusing. As Run Amok, like I said, he's got the buffer that he needs. But that's not what TRT Lucifer would have wanted in the Alpine, because the safety car just puts a halt to any charge that he would make. So just with this, I imagine it'll be a couple of laps before the rest of the field catch up, and then following that we will have the race will get back underway. And TRT Lucifer now actually comes into the pits. So what is he going to do there? Greg as well into the pits behind him. He hasn't got any damage. He will drop to the back, but what does he do for tyres? He goes onto the hards, so he's going to be going long with probably just enough tyre life, I think, to outpace the competition eventually. But that drops it down to 13th place. Will that pay dividends to him later on? And as you can see during the screen, he doesn't have his helmet on either, so I'm sure there's obviously some kind of penalty for that. I'm going to stay on with it. For those who don't know, keep a look at his cockpit. He doesn't have his helmet on. I think we'll just keep an eye on the helmetless Alpine as we wait for him to catch up to the rest. He's doing a Mark Webber with no helmet on there. As all the other cars behind him are starting to come through, and STB is not going to get any points for overtaking there because it's in a safety car situation. I've never been a fan of the safety car either, and it's certainly been a chaotic race at that. With Sam Keane already retired in the Red Bull, we just need to wait for this man to catch up to the rest of the field, which I imagine will be by about next lap. As you can see, with the safety car, with the cars as close as they are to the safety car, so we will certainly be getting another lap in, and following that I think we will have it won't be long, I think, before the other Aston Martin catches up to the back of the field, which then means that we should be able to get back underway. But all these laps behind the safety car means that these cars will, if there was any issues with underfueling the car, they can certainly go a little bit longer, and with the tyre life they could probably get an extra 1 or 2 laps maybe out of them as well, because they're not being put under so much G-force. It's just a little bit tricky making sure that they're heated up though. I agree, our race safety car is a part of racing, but I think the frequency in which it has on there is probably might raise a few questions, but nevertheless, racing's racing at the end of the day, so you take it for what it is. As there we have Gregory, who's just about to catch up to the back of the field now. As you'll see from the onboard, there is IIRL Hyper, and there is FRA John B, who after contact has gone down into 16th position, but he's on medium tyre. So he'll be glad in many ways that the safety car has come out, because he was 20 seconds from the field after having to make a pit stop because of all that damage. But he's certainly back in this, and there we have it. The safety car is coming in at the end of this lap. As you can see, the Williams backing up the field now, trying to get as much heat into those tyres as he can. It's just a question of when he decides to drop it. When's he going to hit it? Has he got enough heat in those tyres? Alfa Romeo not too far behind, and the Williams has dropped it, and we are back underway on lap 7 of the Hungarian Grand Prix. And the Alfa Romeo has already got quite a slipstream on the Williams. He's pretty close there, as you can see, positioning his car well. And as you can see, Wiggles now actually getting up into P3 ahead of the Ferrari. So lovely bit of opportunist driving there from Mr. Wiggles in the AlphaTauri, who now goes up into 3rd position. And going down the rest of the order, TRT Lucifer is now up into 12th. And FRA John B has passed APS Greg and now up into 15th position. The Alpine's definitely on the charge. The Nyros J definitely looks to be a little bit slow there in the Alfa Romeo, and Wiggles is just absolutely on the charge. And if you look at the camera shot there, it's just how close it is just to follow. You'll see that how hyper competitive this track really is, and unfortunately this is the consequence of this track. You end up being held up by the cars in front, because it's very, very tricky to overtake this one unless your name is obviously Mr. Wiggles or any of the Alpines for that matter, as Supermac has actually gotten past FRA John B. Lucifer is, as you know, Lucifer is up into 11th and John B is up into P13. So I think the Bullet must have had some sort of moment. And again, the safety car has been deployed. This is turning into that race that we much very had to, and the Red Bull of Ilsemp has a drive-through penalty. But this is absolutely crazy, as the Hasses have to double stack. It's not quite what they would have wanted. 10-10 pits, Bullet pits, Sean Gregory pits, Lil Semp pits to the Red Bull, but will have to take a drive-through penalty. but yet another safety car has been deployed. It's a bit crazy, I think, for that matter. But I hope they can ditch the safety car and get racing back underway, because otherwise you might as well run the whole race behind the safety car at this point. Lap 8 of the Hungarian Grand Prix, run amok in the lead from IIRL. Mr. Wiggles had a brilliant piece of opportunist driving to take third position from Ripley in the Ferrari, who's not having a good start from pole position. So our race, reckon the lobby is glitched. What, particularly with the safety cars? And Bullet is going back into the pits for some reason. He's 19th, so don't see why he would give up track position. But I don't suspect it will take him long actually to catch up to the rest of the field. He goes on to mediums, so whether they're fresh mediums or not, I do not know. But they look fresh. Truly chaotic stuff. Yellow in sector 3 when number 19 still had to pass that part of the track. We had this in 82 every 2 laps safety car. So, oh, and Sean Gregory, penalty for severe collision with Sem. So what's happened there? Have any of them got any damage? So if that's the case of what we're looking forward to the 82 race, I mean, I should know that I'll be racing for this, that this is going to be a very safety car driven race, as the safety car is coming in, and hopefully we can get a few extra laps worth of racing, it seems. But, yeah, Ron amok doing exactly what he needs to do. Lucifer, the 2 Alpines are already now back in the points, so it's very stop and start. It's almost like watching a game of American football at the moment, and it's almost like we've just finished the first quarter, as the Williams struggles to get heat into those tyres, and he drops it. He is gone, and that's a pretty healthy restart considering what has been happening before. Not too good of a start for Ripley in the Ferrari, as the McLaren has a look going down into the first corner. He just holds his position there, and John B has just overtaken Supermac in the Ferrari. 10-10 now overtakes Platy as well, so the Alpines, as always, back on a charge. So hopefully they can keep everything clean. Oh, and Supermac looks to have gone off, and he's lost his front wing. So is that going to bring out yet another VSC or safety car? I certainly hope it does not, because I think we've had enough of those with only 10 laps or so in this track. And the sectors have gone green, which is fine by me. That way you can still get some racing on there. If anyone can clean up the leaves of the track, I'll be appreciated. Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, they should have that feature installed in the game. I hope so on the safety cars. And just as I suspect, yet another safety car. This is getting quite tedious now, if I'm honest. I mean, sorry this is making for any, like, stop and start viewers. I mean, exactly. Bruh, indeed. So that's another safety car. truly a chaotic stuff, if we need to restart, hopefully so we can unglitch the lobby, then I'm all for it, to be honest, because this is just ridiculous. Everyone is coming in now to Sean Gregory, Ilsamp, 1010 and Supermac are all in again. Supermac just needs to change his front wing. So there we go. We've got 2 more laps under the safety car until hopefully we can get back to some more actual racing. But if this lobby really is glitchy, then I just wonder what it says in the Discord about it actually. Sorry about this, viewers. I thought it was going to be a little bit more action-packed, but it seems like safety car glitch after safety car glitch, and at this point you may as well finish the whole race by the safety. It's turning into the Belgian Grand Prix at the moment, except we're in Hungary and we're in the live game, so... So give it 2 more laps and the safety car will be in at the end of this lap, I highly suspect. I suppose the time in which has come out is not the most convenient, I think for the top 7, because they've started the race effectively on their tyres. My thoughts exactly, Padge. Well done, Cody's. I can't remember whether these issues were that bad when 2020 was on board. I know it was bad for whether it has anything to do with EA, the amount of glitches they got in there, but nevertheless, Cody's delivering it once again. So give it a while, guys. The safety car will be in at the end of the lap. I don't understand this glitch, because it's causing the safety car to come out when effectively nobody is actually retired. But it's definitely something we need to send to Cody's to address in the next patch, or next fix or whatever, because boy is it needed. And Semp has got yet another penalty after a collision. And is that damage I see on the Red Bull? It looks like damage. Yes, you can see the end plate is damaged on that Red Bull. Now, let's hope we can get a few more laps worth of racing here, shall we? At least we know the one stop is definitely going to work. As we go yet again, IIRL leads them away, and so far keeps it very clean. It's very much line astern unless we look behind as the McLaren goes to fight these. Oh, and all the Aston Martin is actually trying to move on the Alpine. Can he pull that one off? To come out not side by side, and John B holds onto the position, and TRT Lucifer actually is coming into the pits. As a yellow flag in Sector 1, so what's happened there? Who has gone off? Looks like was it Williams that's gone off? Or it must have been an AlphaTauri. It must have been Bullet, it seems. The Supermac has a 3-second time penalty for warnings, but up front, IIRL is starting to put the pressure on the Williams. It's 3 abreast now. Not 3 abreast, it's 3 follow alone, like synchronized swimmers almost, as go through those back of that chicane. But we've done well so far. We've gotten through the first lap without a safety. Oh, for God's sake, come on! Oh my God, I spoke too soon. Oh. Guys, honestly, like, I love content, but we need to restart these. Probably need to restart the lobby or something, because this is getting ridiculous. I mean, we haven't even done the lap, and there's yet another safety car. Looks like Appy has retired from the session. But this is getting absolutely insane. So I hope a new lobby is started. Like, I can't see the chat on the Discord, so John B is retired from the session. It looks like it's getting to a point where everyone now is starting to probably think about leaving the session, because Hyper's leaving the session, and already 2 people crashing into each other, it seems. It looks like we are restarting, because it's been a bit of a farce, if I'm honest. I mean, we kind of have to. We kind of have to restart. And as you can see, Run and Mark clearly having fun there in the circumstances. But I think the problem is like, I think we've decided to restart the session, so no one's really taking it seriously now. And Run and Mark is retired. Everyone looks to have been sort of crashing out. So I'm probably going to see if I can find the new lobby. Yeah, the points here, they're not going to count, so I think it's a new race lobby, actually, that needs to be started. John B has left the session. I think everybody else must be on the verge of retiring from this one. So I'm going to see if I can find... Lil Semper's left the session. A lot of people are leaving the session. Migrating host. I'm going to see if I can just find where the new party is going to be. Everyone killing each other. I mean, that's the probably the Nikita Mazepin version of the race. Everyone trying to kill each other, and last one standing is the winner. Not that that wouldn't be fun, but it is rather annoying that we're getting these safety cars after constant safety cars. Okay. Millsy has left the session. So many people are leaving the session. Sorry about this, viewers, because this is quite a letdown. I think the session has pretty much been glitched to a point where it's literally just undrivable at the moment. I think that's what we're gonna look to do, to be honest, because we can't keep racing like this. This is just crazy. So who is going to be hosting? Yeah, I think they're in the middle of just putting forward a new lobby at the moment, so... However, ironically, it doesn't quite look like we've actually got a safety car in at the moment. going on at the moment. So I'm really sorry about this, viewers, but it looks like we've got a bit more to do in terms of sorting out the lobby. There you go. So we're just going to join the new game now. But that was just crazy. I'm really sorry about that, viewers. Okay, so for those of you, I think there was a lot of people that sort of bailed out, so apologies for that. So we are going to end up restarting, I think, the lobby. So everyone is going to be invited to the new session. I think they've got to sort out what they're going to do with the safety car, because it's current. I think it's on, whether it's a glitch or put it on too much. They've got to do something about it, but I'll let them crack on with it. Okay, so now we're just waiting for everybody to come back into the lobby, and then we'll get started for the next, well, sort of a rerun of the race, because not quite sure what's happening in terms of glitching out this lobby. It's putting on safety car after safety car, but I'm sorry, I do appreciate it. It was quite ridiculous for that to happen. So what we're going to do, we're just going to wait for the race director to set up the grid, and everyone starts the same tyres as they were on before, and the same strategy. And then we will restart the race. In any case, but I suppose on a positive note, guys, it's still better than what we got for the Belgian Grand Prix. So I'll just put myself onto spectator. I think we're going to try and put the safety car onto something a little less strict. Let's see. Safety car is on reduced. Safety car is on reduced. So I'm just going to wait for the guys to sort out the grid right now. So that's 19. I think we're just waiting for one more person and we should be underway. Which does result in a much longer stream than normal. But I think everyone else below needs to select their cars. It's just a crazy one at the moment, so let's see what Padge wants in the party. Hello? Okay. Oh, the grid where everybody was before. Okay. So I'll close it, then I'll just reboot the stream when we've got the grid sorted. Okay. Alright then, I just need to let everyone in the stream know. Just give me 2 secs. Okay. Alright. I'll join you guys in a bit. Okay. Alright. Okay, so with that, guys, this one we're gonna have to close this. I have to close this particular stream because it's just not quite. Oh, I need to get back into my own party there. So with this one, guys, we're not quite going to be. We're going to have to close the stream, that way I can look at the grid. And once we've got the grid sorted, I will reboot the stream and make sure everyone's there. So I had to apologise for this, but I will see you guys in about 5 minutes. Apologies for this in advance.